America is a country of immigrants. As John F. Kennedy states, because America is comprised of so many different parts, it is hard to isolate traits and ideals that are uniquely American. By studying multiple stories in the perspectives of immigrants and about immigration to America, we have isolated three ideals that Americans strive for: equal opportunity, the achievement of challenges, and personal betterment.
Most of the immigrants' experiences reflect these ideals, but like in any case, there are some exceptions. Some may be so poor that they can't afford to have an opportunity equal to everyone else's in America. Some may not have the willpower or be in the position to accept challenges and strive for personal betterment.
Many people aren't given equal opportunities because of their race. This was shown in the writing on the wall by Camille Dummy, in which she described the racism and prejudice against Chinese immigrants. The Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, which was the first law that prohibited labor immigration, resulted in many Asian or Chinese immigrants being separated from European immigrants, being put in a detention center, and being interrogated merely because they were Chinese.
Although the writing on the walls fails to reflect the American ideal of equal opportunity, it still shows the other two ideals. Many of the poems that immigrants inscribed on the walls encouraged others to keep going and to not forget who they are or where they came from. The poems gave immigrants hope that their lives could get better, no matter how bad they seemed right now. For example, one of the poems on the wall spoke of Su Wu, who was a Chinese diplomat in the Han Dynasty. Su Wu never gave up on his homeland, even after being captured and detained for 19 years. The poems on the walls reminded immigrants of their ancestors who faced hardships like they are now and overcame them, instilling immigrants with the renewed hope of the fact that their lives could get better and would one day be better, and encourage them to keep striving towards their goals.
The achievement of overcoming cultural, racial, and other challenges is also shown in many of the stories. For example, in Rules of the Game by Amy Tan, the main character Waverly must overcome the challenges she faces with her mother, while also competing in chess competitions. Waverly's mother is from China, while Waverly is from America. Her mother's Chinese culture constantly clashes with Waverly's American ways. Waverly's mother constantly watches over her while she practices, gives her unhelpful advice, that shares her pride in her daughter with anyone who will listen. Waverly, who is a perfect example of an immigrant with American ideals, must overcome her mother's unbearing actions.
The text, With a Little Help from My Friends by Farouza Dumas, an expert from the story, Beni and Farsi, shows all three American ideals and also shows a change in attitude towards immigrants as international relations change. The Iranian Revolution worsened Iranian immigrants' chances of equal opportunities because the new Iranian government was hostile towards the U.S.
The Americans thought that the immigrants from the country in question were bad people that couldn't be trusted because of their country's actions. For example, in the story, the author explains how in the 70s, Iranian immigrants were welcomed with positive reactions and nice questions. They were treated with an introduction to American culture and shown immediate kindness. The people the author met and befriended in America did everything they could to make sure she was not left out of childhood events and holidays such as Halloween. When she had to leave some time later, she describes her goodbyes as tearful and heartbreaking because of how close she had become to who she had met.
Years later, after the Iranian Revolution, the author's younger relatives immigrated to America and were not greeted in the same way. Her relatives described Americans as mean. They were met with bumper stickers on their cars that read, "Iranians, go home," or "We play cowboys and Iranians." They were met with a hostile society which was much different from what the author experienced before the revolution. This inducted prejudice among Americans about Iranians. Although Americans formed a prejudice against Iranian immigrants, it is clear to see most Americans were willing to accept and learn about the different cultures before the revolution. This is a perfect example of the American ideal of striving for personal betterment and accepting challenges. Many Americans had no idea where Iran was but wanted to learn and educate themselves. They wanted to accept the challenge of welcoming and learning about a foreign immigrant from Iran.
The poem Morning Talk by Roberta Hill Whiteman shows discrimination between different groups of indigenous people. It doesn't necessarily contribute to the American ideals, but it does show that America will always and have always had discrimination and racism, no matter what, even if both of the races were there to begin with. The poem shows that people constantly separate themselves based on how indigenous or how long ago their ancestors came to America.
In the poem Immigrant Picnic by Gregory Dunican, two of the three American ideals are represented, while the third one is hinted at. Equal opportunity is shown with the setting. The family is in a backyard with a grill. The narrator has a hat shaped like Pennsylvania. If the narrator has items like this, then they must be well off enough to afford unnecessary items. Accepting challenges is shown because the family has accepted the challenge of trying to learn the English language with all its confusing figurative language.
Striving for personal betterment is hinted at because the family must have tried very hard to get where they are with the house and other middle-class items, especially if they're from a country where the economy isn't as strong. They could have come to America with a large sum of money in their country, but with the currency exchange, it wouldn't be a lot of American currency. Also, they bettered themselves by learning the language of the new environment they were in. It would most definitely help them in the future. The family had to work to get themselves in a good situation, and it has obviously paid off. They strive to overcome the challenges of coming to a new country.
Immigrants' experiences are not just found in these stories, however. They can also be found in real life. Meet Ajay and Sagnita Lunawat, two Indian immigrants to America. When asked about whether their experiences in America reflected American ideals, their response was,
Yeah, so I do believe in that America provides a great place for equal opportunity. Let me give an example. Like here, everybody has freedom to say buy house, right? Unlike some other countries where there are restrictions based on either religious belief or race or citizenship. Here, as long as a person can meet financial requirements, everybody can buy house. We are all free to practice our own religion here as well. So that's another good thing. Like just provide a lot of freedom. Also, let's say for example, when you go to a restaurant, there is not a lot of social segregation in the sense who can really enjoy there. Almost anybody can go in the same restaurant and enjoy. And having that freedom really gives us confidence to achieve what we want to achieve. Now, there is one thing I would like to bring up though, that it's not only, of course, US is a leader in this and it has a lot of good rules, regulations to promote the freedom and equality. I believe it's the era which affects it a lot. In this era, actually, that equality and all those are spreading all over the world. Earlier, uh, there were differentiation based on gender and race in a lot of places. Like men can do this or women can only do this part and they cannot do vice versa. Same way, black, white, brown, all kind of thing. But nowadays, almost everywhere in the world, we do see that there is a big movement on equality going on, which is a good thing. However, US is the leader in that. There are rules and regulations which promotes it a lot. So basically, we are very fortunate to be in this.
There is equal opportunity in America, but not enough Africa. For example, when I came here, I had an H4 visa, which meant I could not work here. Even though I was qualified since I had different documentation, I could not get the job I wanted, just like many other immigrants. Another thing that obstructs equal opportunity is the language barrier. Even though I know English, I need certification that I can speak it to apply for jobs. This is a hassle for many immigrants. It is also very hard to get loans here until you have any financial credit, which is another big challenge for immigrants. Very difficult to build credit history without already having a credit history. Even though equal opportunity may not be given in getting jobs, it is still given in other ways. For example, there is much less discrimination here and everyone is very supportive. They let you be free to do whatever you want, and there is a lot less societal pressure. Also, immigrants can also have voting rights as long as they become citizens, which is equal opportunity.
The realities of immigrants' experiences may vary from person to person, but in general, they mostly reflect American ideals. In each of the stories we read and studied, there was at least one of the American ideals. The American ideals include equal opportunities for everyone, the acceptance and eventual achievement of challenges, and the strive for personal betterment.